I know y'all are hyped up on sugar. How many of y'all had like 4 donuts? 2, 1. How many of y'all are that person that's like, it's Christmas, I'm watching my weight, so I didn't eat a donut?
Not me, because you're a diabetic.
Yeah, there's a whole room of nobody that says that. But as you don't watch weight, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you just eat, right? Like you don't get to eat like this the rest of the year. How many of you guys know that when Christmas comes, you just like candies and like sweets just stay on the counters at your house? Any of y'all?
I have diabetes.
I'm sorry, Shay. All this sweet candy, you're just like, oh, thanks, guys. You're just going to end up hurting me here. So, you guys excited? Yes, tonight? Hey, look, I know we have a couple new folks, so we need to teach them. I need a little bit of a 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Can y'all give me that? Guys, I'm not excited to give you this message because y'all don't sound excited. Can I get 2 claps and a Ric Flair? I'm not feeling it, guys. I don't have the energy to do this. Can I get 2 claps and a Ric Flair? There we go. You guys pumped? Yes? You ready? All right. So, check this out real quick. So, when I was in high school, I was a little bit of a gangster, okay? I am not showing pictures. Look, I have learned my lesson with you guys is that when pictures are flashed on the screen, you pull your phone out and take pictures, and they don't go away. I share what's in my with you guys, and then somehow they always reappear somewhere on social media as an embarrassment to me. So I'm not showing you pictures, but when I was in high school, I was a little bit of a gangster. Okay, I would like to say that I thought I was pretty legit. Like I could walk the mean streets and I could do my thing. Like people didn't want none of this. Okay, but my favorite thing to do in high school, I loved every bit of rap music you could find. Every bit of rap, Christian music, secular music. If it was rap music and it had a beat to it, I could do it. Now, I couldn't freestyle. I don't have any of those skills, but I loved all type of rap music. My favorite group, or a big group that I had, was a music that you shouldn't be listening to. But when I was in high school, I listened to a big group that was called Rough Riders, okay? Some of y'all old folks might know what that is, but you're like, I have no idea. That's good. You don't need to be listening to it. It's not good music. I didn't make good choices when I was in high school. That's why I'm up here teaching to y'all, to keep y'all from making bad choices, okay? But this group, man, it had if you know who Eve is, she's in a lot of movies now, she was in this group, and a guy called Cassidy and Jadakiss, all these guys were in this big group. They had a song that was called Ride or Die, okay? Ride or Die. That was one of my favorite songs when I was in high school. Now, Ride or Die was kind of built from Bonnie and Clyde, right? That was from old school, you were stuck with somebody, you went to the grave for this person, this person was your ride or die, okay? What it meant is that you had a ride or die friend that you would go to the extreme, your friendship was to the max, okay? I'm talking to the point that you'd go to jail for this person, okay? Whatever it took, you show ultimate friendship. You tell people, some of y'all I ain't going to jail for you, and I see y'all pointing to each other, I love you, but I'm not going to jail for you. But you go to jail for me. But this person, so to have somebody that's a ride or die, that was you did everything for this person, okay? You love this person so much, you would do whatever it took to help this person out. You had the best friendship, and anybody that you knew, this person was your ride or die. If something happened in school and somebody got in trouble and you knew that they already had 2 strikes and they were going to get suspended, if they got another strike, you say, I'll take one for you, okay? You're like, hey, I did it. Whatever it was, I did what it was. I had that. So that was what was considered your ride. Now, your ride or die, this isn't just something you don't just throw this around, all right? This, having somebody that you say, hey, this is my ride or die, that's telling somebody you love them, okay? You don't just throw it around. It's not like these days. I feel like your generation kind of throws around the word love you, and they throw in you'll meet somebody for 3 days, you'll be like, oh my God, this person is my BFF. We are such good friends. We couldn't live without each other. We are best friends. We've only known each other 3 days, but God, we're brought together. Or you might meet somebody that you've only been dating a week, and you're like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. I can't live without you. If we're not together, my life is over, okay? I only see you during school hours, but any other time of the day, my life is over, okay? You don't just throw around the word ride or die. I remember as I was writing this message, I thought back to high school, and I was going through and looking at things. We had a group of guys that called each other their ride or dies. They were called the Calm Clique. their name, okay, their group name. They called each other the Com Clique. Now, when I was in high school, I worked at a commissary, hence the name Com Clique. I worked at the commissary with all these guys. We literally did nothing but bag groceries. How that was any type of gangster whatsoever and merited having a gang called the Com Clique, I have no idea. But the only way you could be in this group and you could be ride or die is if you were a bagger at the grocery store. Now, I was not in this group. I would like to say that my invitation got lost in the mail or something, but even though I worked here, I never got invited to this Com Clique. But these guys were the ride or die, okay? That's who they were. They went anywhere in school, like prom, football games, basketball games, any type of event we had at high school, these guys were together. That's what they called each other, the ride or dies, the Com Clique. Now, my best friend in the world, his name is Zach Gramling. I've heard some of you guys, you've heard a couple of our stories, a little bit of craziness. But Zach was my ride or die, okay? Zach was there for me, through everything. Zach and I met back when I was in high school, or when I was in college and he was still in high school. We met as lifeguard, and Zach actually told me that I was fat, and that's how we met. Like, that was his first word to me. He told me, like, he literally, I don't know how, guys, we were there, I was there when his son was born. He met Addison when she was born. How we went from him calling me that to the fact, I don't know. But he and I were like the greatest of friends, okay? So Zach and I were together. Zach was my ride or die. Zach would do anything for me. Anything that I needed, Zach was there. If I needed help with anything, Zach also was the person that'll call me out, okay? Maybe you have a friend like that. Like, you have somebody that you can call out, and you're like, look, you're not doing this right. You're messing up. You're acting a fool. I need to just let you know how ridiculous you look, that you shouldn't wear that out of the house. This is what you're doing. Look, you need to go home and take a bath. You stink, okay? Like, he was that person for me. He could tell me whatever it is, and he was one of the few people that would call me out. Now, thinking back to a time when Zach would literally do anything for me, he was living in Auburn at the time. I was living in Montgomery, and my car had broken down. My car battery wasn't working, and he and I were just talking. My roommate was out of town. I didn't have any family in town. I had nobody to help me go get a new car battery. Zach's like, look, I'm coming home. I'm coming back to Montgomery to see family. Let me just swing by. I'll pick you up. We'll go to dinner. We'll hang out. We'll get you a new car battery. So that's Zach, okay? Whatever I need, he's there to help me. So Zach and I do this. We get together. We go pick up the car battery. We're starting to drive back to the apartment so we can try and fix my car. Well, there's this long stretch of highway in Montgomery called Montgomery Highway. It goes all the way through the town. And all along it, there's like food places and neighborhoods, all this stuff. So he and I are just driving. Now, Zach had the coolest truck to me. Okay, Zach had this little bitty two-door Ford Ranger. Okay, I know that sounds nerdy. Okay, first of all, Fords are nerdy anyways. I'm sorry, Chevy's the only way to go. But it was really cool. It was all white. Okay, thank you, Chevy's. It was all white. He had like all 10-out windows. He had subs in it. He had mud tires that were on it. It was lifted. He had these really cool like all blacked out rims that were on it. He had like a brush. He had this thing. It was stick shift. So it was a quick thing. He had like adjusted the engine so it had all these different aftermarket pieces on it. So he and I are in his truck. We're driving back from Walmart. And then out of nowhere comes this like random truck, okay? It's 10 times the size of his. It's like a Dodge Ram or something, just souped up. It was like he could probably fit under his truck could have fit under this one. It was huge. Comes behind him, like flashing lights, like speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. And I'm asking Zach, I'm like, do you know this person? Is this somebody that's just like messing with you? And he's like, I don't know. No, I don't know anybody that drives this kind of car. So this guy's like, he's like flicking his lights on. Like, I don't know if he's trying to race us or what's going on. He speeds up next to us and we can't see anything inside of his car or his truck because he's got all tinted windows. So we have no idea. He's like speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. And I'm like, dude, just like slow down. Just get away from this guy. He obviously is just not right. Like, I don't know what the deal is. Zach said, I'm not going to jail tonight for racing my truck. I'm not doing this. So he starts to slow down. Well, as soon as he slows down, the truck slows down. So I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. So I'm like, just speed up, just speed, okay, whatever. If a cop pulls us over, tell him this dude was acting crazy. So he speeds up and go. Of course, guess what? Truck speeds up. We have no idea what's going on. This guy's like sticking to us like glue. We start to come up on this really like huge neighborhood. It's called Deer Creek in Montgomery. It's massive. Like the entrance is probably two of these buildings, okay? There's a road that's the inside that you go down to go in, and there's another road that you come out, and in the middle of these two roads is this huge median, has like water fountains and big grassy areas. There's a gated community. So I'm like, dude, just like turn in there real quick, go to something. So he doesn't slow down and decides just to make the quick turn. So we're going probably about 40, 50 miles an hour. Zach takes the car and just turns it. I felt like that thing was on two wheels. He goes around the corner. You feel it come. I'm not lying to you. I felt like the car was coming up on two wheels. Zach cut the corner a little too late and ends up going on the median. I mean, he hits this thing at 40 or 50 miles an hour. You hear a huge, it sounds like a big explosion. His tire had blown. He hits it. We go up on top of this median. He bottoms out across the grass, rips the grass out, and he ends up swerving into the grass, and we're stuck in the middle of this median. This truck comes behind us and then turns and goes down the one-way street to go into Deer Creek. We get out of the car. His tire has been destroyed. His rim is bent. His brush guard's half hanging off. His muffler is somewhere back over here. And I don't know what was going through me. I felt bad because he was trying to help me out. His really nice truck is destroyed. And this truck is going all the way down to where the guard gig is and is turning back around. Whatever went through me in my mind, I have no idea. As the car's coming back down, I go to jump in front of it and just put my hands out. Like I'm going to magically stop this thing. So I'm standing there with my hands up, feeling like I'm Moses, like I'm going to part the sea. Like I've got my hands up. I'm standing there, truck, 10 times as big as me. It's speeding up. Zach's in the car, and all I hear is Zach, get out of the way. I'm like, no. And it probably lasted about 5 or 10 seconds. I felt like it lasted 4 or 5. I felt like we had a conversation. Like I felt like I'm sitting there like, I'm not moving, Zach. You did this for me. I'm going to do this for you. I'm not going to let him ruin your car. Like I'm just yelling at him and yelling back and forth. And it like a movie, guys. Like the truck comes. I decide to jump out of the way last minute. Like it just kind of like nicks me on the booty. Like everything. Literally probably didn't even do it, I'll be honest with you. I probably did this and then stepped right back because I realized it was a much bigger truck than I was. But I sat there, I don't know what craziness was in front of me, jumped in front of the car, tried to stop it. He went out and left. And so then we ended up calling somebody. We tried to call the police. Luckily, his brother-in-law was a police officer, sent somebody out there while he was out there and we were telling the story. You wouldn't guess, the guy that was kind of stupid with the truck decided he'd come back to see what we were doing. Comes back and sees the police officer and just speeds, like tires screeching, everything. Cop jumps in the car, chases him down, ends up giving him like $1,000 fine for too dark of tint on his car because he couldn't technically give him a ticket because he didn't see what happened. So anyways, the moral of that story, the whole reason I tell you that is like Zach was my ride or die, okay? I was willing in that moment, it felt like an eternity, but I was willing to stand in front of that car for Zach, right? Like he was doing for me. He was helping me out. He was going to get me a car battery. I'm standing there in front of this car, and I'm like, I have no idea why I'm doing this. I don't know if I really love you this much. Like this car is 10 times as big as I am. And I'm sitting here just standing in front of this. But Zach was, like I said, Zach was my ride or die. Zach was the guy that Zach was there for me through the good times, the bad times. Zach was there for me. I've told you guys before that I was engaged to someone else before Emily. He was there for me when it didn't work out. He was the one that talked to me on the phone. He was the one that was there for me through everything didn't go well. Like Zach was my buddy. But Zach was a little bit more than that. Zach wasn't just like my buddy, my best friend, my ride or die. Like Zach was my person that kept me accountable. Zach was the person that whenever I needed somebody just to be blatantly honest. Like if I'm doing something stupid, if I'm just walking out of line, I need somebody that I'm not gonna come back to and I'm not gonna talk back to or get mad. I need you to be real with me. And Zach was that person for me. Zach was always somebody that no matter what was going on in our life, Zach was that person. He was my ride or die. He was my accountability partner. And that's kind of where I want to go tonight is that I want to talk to you guys about that, what it means to have that, what it means to have that type of relationship with somebody. That we have to have somebody in our life, whether it's one person or a group of people, we have to have somebody in our life that keeps us accountable. We have to have somebody in our life that helps us be better. We have to have somebody in our life that when we're doing the things that in our minds sound right, but to everybody else look stupid, that we can go to that person and say, look, this isn't cool, you're messing up, you're going down the wrong path. We have to have somebody that can keep us accountable because look, you're not just called to be kept accountable, you're also called to help keep other people accountable. So you want to find somebody, or it's a group, it's people, whatever it is, find people that will help keep you accountable in your life. Check this out. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. I'm going to give you guys two different translations. The first one is from the New Century Version. Here's what it says. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so people can improve each other. If you look at the Message version, I like this. It's kind of cool. It says, if you use steel to sharpen steel, and one friend sharpens another. Okay, when you read that verse, there's two things that come from that. One, you have to use steel to sharpen steel. That you can't use wood to sharpen steel. You can't use plastic. You have to use the exact same thing. What that tells you is, as a believer, find somebody that thinks the way you do, that believes what you do, that wants to have what you want to have, that wants to do the same things that you want, because that person is going to make you better. That person is going to sharpen you. That person is going to feed into your life. Find that. Steel sharpens steel, and iron sharpens iron. That's where we want to go. And you know what's funny is, if you guys actually look all throughout the Bible, you can look at all different translations. There's nowhere within the Bible do you ever see the word accountability used. It's never said accountability at all. Now, principles to that are in the Bible. You see the principles of accountability and why you should have accountability and why it's important, but you never actually see the word accountability used anywhere in Scripture. I think because, here's the thing, I think accountability is one of the hardest things to do. I think accountability, it's not easy to have somebody keep you accountable. It's not easy to do that, because when you have somebody that keeps you accountable, or you keep accountable, you're just blatantly honest with that person. There's nothing to hide. Like, you can't hide who you are. You can't hide away what makes you who you are. You are honest with that person. Think about this, a couple things. The reason that accountability is tough, why sometimes it's hard for you to want to have somebody that keeps you accountable, is, first of all, there's just the fear of judgment, right? Like, or you want to kind of go to someone and tell somebody, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. They're thinking like, oh man, that's what you're into? That's what you're messing up? That's what you're doing? So they feel like they're just kind of judging you. The other thing is, if you look, guys, it's the fear of disappointment, right? Say you have somebody that you decide to keep you accountable. Or you talk to somebody like, hey man, I really got to have somebody help me. I need somebody that can keep me accountable, or vice versa. And so this whole time they thought they knew who you were. And so you kind of come to them and say, look, this is where I'm struggling. This is what I'm having a hard time with. This is where I need help in my walk with Christ. I'm struggling with this right here. So in their mind, they think, man, I didn't really know that about you. I'm kind of disappointed in you. Like, I thought you were better than that. Like, I thought you were different than that. So that has that fear that's inside of us. The other thing is that just the fear of coming up short. Okay, maybe that's the fear. Maybe you're just scared that when you share what you have something going on with somebody, they're just not going to think well of you. They're going to think, you just don't really add up to what I want. Like, they had this perfect kind of bubble perception of you, and it just pops. Like, they're like, well, I thought you were different than that. I thought you were better. I thought you were bigger than that. Or it can even say you just the fact of coming clean about your struggles. I'll be honest with you guys. It's not easy even for me to have somebody that I have accountability with, because you're just being honest with that person. You're telling that person, look, this is what I struggle with. This is what I deal with. This is what kind of sucks. This is what I'm going through my whole life. This is what I'm dealing with. But we have to have accountability in our lives. Even as tough as it is, you want to find somebody in your life that's going to keep you accountable. You want to find somebody in your life that's willing to feed into it, whether it's somebody that's sitting in this room right now, or whether it's somebody that you have in a small group, whether it's somebody that you know at school, whatever it is. Find somebody that believes what you believe, that wants what you want, that has the same faith that you have, and have that accountability. Here's what I want you guys to take away tonight. This is what I want you to kind of know when it comes. When you're held accountable, is accountability brings vulnerability. Okay? Accountability brings vulnerability. Now, here's the other thing. Vulnerability also brings accountability. What that means is that when you're accountable for somebody, you're vulnerable. Like, you've opened up. You're like, look, this is me. This is who I am. This is where I mess up. Like, this is what I do wrong. So you become vulnerable. Guys, when you're vulnerable, you're more susceptible to being accountable to somebody, because you're honest with them. You're telling them what's going on in your life. This is what you're dealing with. This is where the things that you have going on in your life. Here's what it checks out in James chapter 5, verse 16. This is what it says. It says, confess to one another, therefore, your faults. That's things like your slips, your false steps, your offenses, your sins. And it says, and pray for one another, that you may be healed and restored. The earnest prayer of a righteous man makes a tremendous power available. What that verse is telling us is that, guys, when you take time, when you decide that you're going to kind of confide in someone, and you're going to be honest with someone, and you get past that fear of finding somebody that you want to help hold you accountable in life, guys, you're going to have tremendous power in that because you're going to be able to deal with the things that you're going on in life. You know, when Emily and I got married, one of the hardest things we had to do was to be honest with each other. I'll tell you guys right now, guys and girls, no matter what you do right now in your life, whether it's now, into college, before you get married, no matter what you do, the decisions you make with the person that you're dating, the things that you do before, whatever it is, guys, you're going to be held accountable for that one day. At some point one day when you decide to get married, you're going to have to be honest with that person. You say, look, I did this. I made this mistake. And this is something that, like, when Emily and I got married, I had to. And you guys know, I was a hood rat, okay? I was ridiculous when I was young. I was ridiculous even into college. The fact that Emily married me just shows that she just has grace, that or she just said, hey, I need to try and fix this guy because he needs a lot of help in prayer, okay? But bless that woman for living with me day after day. But Emily and I had to be honest. I had to say, babe, look, this is what I did. These are the choices I made. These are the mistakes that I made. These are the things that I did. I had to be accountable for it. I had to be honest with her. I had to share with her. Emily knows all the things I've done, all the mistakes I've done, all the choices I've made, all the times that I was running around drinking, just trying to play the field, do crazy things. Emily knows all that stuff because I used her to be accountable for me, and hers the same way. She told me everything she's been through. She told me everything she's done, everything she's dealt with. That came back because we needed to be accountable for each other. If we're going to be married, if we're going to be together, we have to know what's going on. We have to be held accountable for one another. And it's hard. That's one of the hardest parts about accountability. And I know even for you guys, that's a struggle. It's not always easy to do that. As an adult, I think about me, I think, okay, I kind of have a choice, right? Like I kind of have a choice who I'm around all day and who I spend time with. A lot of times you guys, you kind of are in the school you're in. You don't get to choose where you go. You don't do these things. So you're stuck around these people. These are the people that you spend time with. These are the people that you're friends with. These are the people that you see day in and day out year round. Because this is where you are. This is where you live. This is where you put your life at. And so for you guys, it might be hard. It might be hard for the fact that you say to your mind, okay, I already have a group of friends. Like, we're honest with each other. Like, we talk to one another. Like, we know what's going on. Like they keep me accountable. But maybe, like, deep down in your heart, you know it's not really the best. Like, they don't really have your best interest in mind. Like, they don't really look out for you the way that they should. Like, they don't really put you in good situations. They're just kind of there. You might have those friends that you say, hey, I need you guys to help me with this. I need you guys to help me through it. And maybe they're just not. You have tried to open up to them. You've tried to say, hey, guys, I'm struggling with whatever it is in my life that I'm struggling with. And they're just not there. Like, they don't help you when they need you, or they don't help you when you need them. And they're not there when you have that struggle. Or maybe you just really don't understand why there's importance in accountability. Maybe you say, hey, I'm here. I can do life on my own. Like, I don't need anybody else. Like, I'm accountable for my own actions. I can deal with my own stuff. I can go through everything that I'm dealing with. I don't need all these people saying, hey, this is where you're messing up. This is where you could be better. This is what you could do better. I can do every bit of this myself. But look, we've talked all year long that it's important to have a faith that fights. You got to have that type of faith that fights these social and cultural norms. And guys, that fear of opening up to somebody, that fear of finding a friend to just confide in, that's part of what it means to have a faith that fights. That means you say, hey, I'm going to let this go. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you everything that's going on in my life. I'm going to tell you this because, guys, it's important to our walk with Christ. If we're going to be better, if we're going to have an important walk, if we're going to have a walk that's strong with Christ, you got to have somebody that can help you through these things and help you be accountable. So when you look at accountability, there's two things that I want to look at tonight. First of all, it's the why. Like, why do we want to be accountable? And then the second thing I want to look at is what happens. So, okay, say I decide to be accountable. What comes from it? What happens when I decide to have accountability? So the first question we have is, why do you need accountability? Why do you need to have that? Why is it important? And the first point that I have is that it says stumble. Just stumble. Now, when you see that, essentially what it is, guys, is that Satan's our enemy, right? Like Satan's the one that Satan tries to bring us down. Satan tries to put us into temptation. Satan's our enemy. And because Satan's our enemy, guys, he loves to see us stumble. He loves to see when we mess up. He loves to see when these things happen to us. Check out what it says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 8 to 9. It says, control yourselves and be careful. The devil, your enemy, goes around like a roaring lion looking for something to eat. Refuse to give in to him by standing strong in your faith. You know that your Christian family all around the world is having the same kinds of suffering. So that verse is telling us you're not the only one that's suffering. You're not the only one that's dealing with these things. You're not the only one that's going through it. You just got to find friends, small groups, or people that you can confide in. You know, if you look at a lion, like a lion is the king of the jungle, like the king of the plains. Like the lion is one of the most ferocious predators that you see out there in the animal kingdom. We took Addison to the zoo a few weeks ago for her birthday, and they had the lion there, and I'm sure it's not even as big as it could be. The thing was massive. Like their paws itself are probably 10 times the size of my head, so I can understand why they're this massive, just king of the jungle. And so if you look at a lion, though, you know what's crazy is they love hunting gazelles. Gazelles literally nothing more than a Bambi that likes to jump around all the time in the wilderness. That's all it is. It runs around, jump around, it runs in herds. But you know, they say that a lion, no matter what, will never, ever, ever hunt a gazelle when it's in its herd. It doesn't matter if there's 3, 4, 5, 6 other gazelles. It will never hunt. It waits until there's one that's off by itself. And it's crazy if you kind of think about that. This massive, huge, scary lion that has these huge claws that goes around and is just ready to take out anything. It just waits. It's like, I can't, I'm not going to do it when everybody's over there. I'm going to wait until the gazelle's just sitting there by himself, and then they attack. They don't ever attack when they're in a herd. So when you look at that, guys, the point of that, the moral of that story is first of all, don't end up being lion's lunch. But that lion is the enemy. Think about right now. When you deal with things in life, when you go through things in life, you're more susceptible to messing up. You're more to that point where somebody could tear you down when you're off by yourself. That's what that whole thing is saying, is that when you're there by yourself, if you're not in a herd of other people that can keep you accountable, you're going to get picked off one by one. And the enemy's going to use that time to take you down because you're off by yourself. You're at your weakest point. The enemy loves to see you spend time by yourself. The enemy loves it when you're not with other people. The enemy loves it when you're just kind of dealing with things on your own instead of finding people to confide in, instead of finding friends that says, hey, this is what I'm going through. It's what I'm dealing with, and they're there to help you through it. Instead, you're just kind of dealing with things on your own because when you're alone, you're at your weakest point. Now, you don't have to just be by yourself to be at your weakest point. You don't have to be just by yourself at the point where the enemy can attack you. You can be in a group. You can be with friends. But if you're not choosing to be in that group of friends that put you in, and I'm not here today to kind of go through that conversation where it's like, hey, who do you choose? You know, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. That's not what we're trying to look at. What I'm trying to teach you guys is find that group of people that's going to stick to you at all times. Find that group of people that is going to help you through things when you're dealing with something, when you're going through something. They're not going to let you just kind of wander off on your own, right? You're not going to kind of be there like the gazelle that says, hey, you guys go ahead. I got it. I'm going to enjoy this grass right here. Like, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to chill. And then the next thing you know, he's lion's lunch because he's off by himself. He's left him. Doesn't matter how strong he is. Doesn't matter how quick he is. The enemy's going to wait for that last moment right then and there and try to catch him. And you know, when you look at the second thing is that if we can stumble from the other thing that you can look at is that why is accountability important? The second reason is because watching. Now what that means is, guys, is that the world is always watching, right? I feel like the world is literally waiting for you to make a mistake. If you're one of those students that at your school, people know that you're a believer. People are like, they know, okay, this person's there in school. This person has a relationship with Christ. Like, they just know who you are. They're waiting for that moment that you fail. They're waiting for that moment that even just that little slightest bit that you mess up, because you know what ends up happening the moment that you mess up? They say, hey, you're just like me. You try to ask me to live this life. You try to get me to come to church, but look, you messed up. You did this. You did these things. Why? You're no better than me. Why do I got to do all these extra things like go to church and read my Bible and be a part of a small? Why do I got to do all these extra things when you mess up as well? The world looks for that. The world waits for it. The world is excited when you do that. The world's excited when it sees you mess up. It says in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 through 16, it says, "So be very careful how you live. Do not live like those who are not wise, but live wisely. Use every chance you have for doing good, because these are evil times." You know, we live wise by keeping the company of those that are also wise. That's what that scripture is telling us. That means that we're living wise because we're surrounding ourselves with people that keep us accountable. We're surrounding ourselves with people that we trust, people that we feed into, because I can understand how easy it is to mess up. I can understand how easy it is for the world just to take us down. I can understand how easy it is that when you have that one slip up, that you don't have somebody to keep you accountable for, to build you back up. You just kind of keep falling and falling and falling more and more, because look, I understand that sometimes it's unfair. We live under a microscope. As a believer, people hold you to a much higher standard, even if it's just the smallest of things. It's like one little thing can discredit every single thing about you, because that's what the world wants. That's what the world is waiting for. You know, one of the things that we do the most, like with our student team, anybody that serves on our student team, one of the things that we try to teach them is that when they come in here on a Wednesday night, that they got to leave their day at the door. Like, they got to leave their bad days at the door. We teach them that because you never know. One of you right now could be in this room tonight. Whether you're here every Wednesday, it's the first time you're here, whatever it is, one of you might be sitting in this room tonight looking for a reason to discredit God. One of you might be sitting in this room tonight looking for a reason to say, why do I need to be here? Why am I even here? Why am I not at home doing something different? You're looking for that reason. And you know what? If our students that are on our C team, whether they're adults, students, whatever it is, if those people didn't leave their their bad days at the door, say they have a really bad day, they walk in here, they don't say hello to you. You could use that as an excuse. You could say, you know what? That person said they're a believer. They didn't even say hello to me. They're no better than I am. Why do I want to be here? Why do I think they're a believer? You could be looking for that. That little bitty thing. You could walk in the door here, and somebody could be standing there at the door, not paying attention, not say anything to you, and you're like, why do I want to go back to a church where nobody talks to me? Why do I want to go to a church where people don't welcome me? Why do I want to go to a church where people don't even say hello? And at that point, you're like, you know what? I gave God a try. I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. Like, there's no point. Like, that person didn't say hi to me. And so because of that, you throw everything away. One of you may be that person right now. You may be sitting in this room just looking and waiting for that moment. But guys, having that support, when you have somebody for that, like when we do that with our team, we say, hey, look, if you have a bad day, let's talk it out before we start. Let's all come together. Let's pray. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's just have a support for one another, because you never know how one single action, you could be the person standing at the door and says hello. You could change someone's life. They could say, you know what? Nobody's talked to me today. Nobody said anything to me all day. I walk into church and the first thing they say is, hey, how are you? My name's so-and-so. What's your name? That one little greeting, maybe that could flip in the other way. Be like, okay, maybe I can give this God thing a try. Maybe I can give church a try. Maybe I am okay with this. Maybe I am okay with what's going on in this place. So we look at that as that the world is always watching what we do. So when the world is always watching, the other thing that we can do, why accountability is important, is because encouragement. When you encourage others, or when you even encourage yourself, encouragement is important to that. Because look, everybody in this room, you have your own temptations. Every one of you right now, when we start talking about what you struggle with, I'm sure something's come to your mind. Something's popped into your mind that you deal with right now that you say, okay, that's where I struggle. That's where my issue's at. And maybe whatever you struggle with, the person that's next to you or whoever you have that's your accountability partner, that may not be their trigger. That may not be something they struggle with. You could walk in here tonight and partying and drinking is your struggle. Friday nights come, Saturday nights come. They say, hey, let's go, let's party, let's do it. And you're like, I don't want to. And they kind of give you a hard time. And you're like, all right, I'll give in, I'll do it. And that's your trigger. That's all it is. That's all it takes, is that one little thing, is that somebody give it to you. But you didn't have that accountability. If in your mind, you're like, you know what? I have people that, you know what? I don't want to go party with. That's cool. I'll just go hang out with these people. I'll go do this. I'll do that. Because you have that. You have that there. Maybe it's something, it could be something like looking at things on the internet that you shouldn't be. Maybe that's your trigger. Maybe you say, I don't know why. That's what I do. I look at things that I shouldn't. I go to sites I shouldn't. I look at things on my phone that I shouldn't. It's at my fingertips. I can do it whenever I want, wherever I want. That's my trigger. There may be people in this room that's worse for them. It could be something that's along the lines of you're in a relationship with somebody and you know you shouldn't be doing it, but whatever it is, you keep having sex with each other. It's just, it's what you struggle with. You're like, I want to stop, but I can't. I can't stop it. I can't stop doing it. That's where I struggle at. It can be even other things that you guys are looking at. When you're talking about things like even drugs, maybe that's where you're thinking. Like when you go to a party on the weekend, you're like, I got to take one hit. Like I got to be out there with them. I got to be with my buddies. I need it. Like I crave it. I got to have that. Maybe that's your trigger. Maybe that's where you struggle at. It can be even something, guys, is that you're just selfish with other people. Like people love you and they feed into you, but for whatever reason, you're just kind of mean back to them. Like you don't really love into them and you're kind of selfish with them or selfish with their actions or how they do things. No matter what it is, you just don't feed back into them. People try to show you they love you, but that's my trigger. That's where I struggle at. That's what the things I do. But guys, when you hold each other accountable and you have support, that's where you can understand the issues. Now, here's the other part. Here's the hard part about it, is that if you have somebody that you decide that says, hey, I need you to keep me accountable, the hard part is that when that person finally does confide in you or you confide in someone else, is that you don't judge them for those things, that you don't kind of condemn them for that. Like if they're honest with you about something, you're like, man, I didn't really know you were dealing with that. Like I didn't know you were doing this. I didn't know you were going there. I didn't know you were struggling with that. You don't want to hold somebody, you don't want to sit there and kind of condemn them for their actions, especially when they were open to you, because that's a dangerous place to be with accountability. Here's what it says. Check this out in Galatians chapter 6. It says in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1, it says, live creatively, friends. If someone falls into sin, forgivingly restore them, saving your critical comments for yourself. Some of you probably need to underline that. Saving the critical comments for yourself. You might be needing forgiveness before the day is out. Let's read that together. What that means is that saying, hey, if you're critical of somebody else's mistakes, you have no idea because before the day's out, you might be needing that same forgiveness back. So let's read it together. It says right here, you might be needing forgiveness before the day is out. It finishes up in the verse. It says, stoop down and reach out to those who are oppressed, share their burdens, and some complete Christ's law. If you think that you are too good for that, you are badly deceived. What that verse is telling us is that if you think you're too good to be somebody's accountability partner, if you think you're too good that you're like, oh, I don't do things that are that bad. Like I don't go that far. God's telling you you're badly deceived because everything weighs the same. Your mistake is the same as theirs. A pastor in Atlanta, his name is Louis Giglio. Here's what he says. I want you guys to check out what he says about accountability. He says, an accountability partner is a place where you are consistently candid, open, honest, and vulnerable concerning your potential and actual shortcomings and failures. In an atmosphere of mutual love, trust, acceptance, and challenge toward the goal of being conformed to the image of Christ and finishing the race. So what it's telling you guys is that, look, you have got to have accountability with someone. You have got to be open. You have got to be loving. You have got to be in that. You can't just shut it out. When several years ago, I ran my first marathon. And I love running with earphones. Like I can't not. Like I get so bored if I run without headphones. Like if I have to run in a race that says you can't have headphones, I'm going to be that person that just gets bored and like steers off the course. And I'll run into something or run another. I just get bored. Like I have ADD. I got to have something that keeps my attention. And when you're running these marathons, at the end of the race, I mean, you're on like mile 10, 11, 12, 13. You're exhausted. They have all these people that are lined up that are encouraging you. And this whole time, they're encouraging you, saying, hey, you got it, you can do it. But see, guys, when I'm running with my headphones, I can't hear any of that. All I'm hearing is my music, and my body is tired. I'm exhausted, and all it wants to do is shut down. But I can't hear any of the encouragement. Is that how you live your life? Are you right now, are you running the race with headphones in? Are there people that are trying to encourage you? Are there people that are trying to surround themselves with you, but you got it blocked out? You got it pushed out of your mind where they can't feed into you because you're too busy kind of off by yourself. Like, I got this. I got music. I'm good. Like, this is all I need. And so you're running this race. Your body is just exhausted. You're so tired of all the mistakes that you're making, but because you haven't fed into anybody else, you've blocked out these people that are trying to encourage you. So if that's important, if that's what it is, if that's why accountability is important, what happens when you guys actually belong to accountability? What happens when you actually have accountability? And here's what it says. As the band comes up tonight, I want to kind of read just these last 5 points. Here's what it is. It says, what happens when we are accountable is the first thing, guys, is you grow. First thing is that you grow. What that means is, guys, not only do you grow in who you are, not only do you grow in your character, not only do you grow in the type of person you are, but guys, you grow in Christ. Your relationship with Christ grows. The second thing is that what happens when you are accountable is that, guys, you deepen. Your relationship deepens. And look, that relationship, what that means is the relationship with the people that you choose to have accountability with, that deepens. That gets better. That gets stronger. It gets to the point where you're okay. I was a little honest about this. I kind of gave you a little piece of what I struggle with, but I'm okay with telling you more. I'm okay with telling you what I really deal with. I'm okay with telling you where I really am struggling at, and I really need some help with that. And then, guys, your relationship with Christ deepens, because as you're honest with them, they're going to push you to deepen that. They're going to push you to have a bigger relationship. The third thing is guys, that you're more aware. You're more aware. That means you're aware of the things that you're struggling with. Because look, there is nothing worse than having an accountability partner, having a group or people that you're accountable with, going and making the mistake again that you were honest with them about, that you said, hey, I'm doing this. And then you're supposed to have coffee or hang out, or you're supposed to see that person, and it's going to come up like, hey, so how's your week been? Have you been good? Have you struggled anymore? Have you committed those actions? Have you done it? And you got to be honest. And there's nothing more awkward than being like, well, see, here's what happened last night. Here's what's happened yesterday. So when you have that accountability partner, you have someone that holds you accountable, you're going to say, you know what? I'm not going to give into that temptation, because there's no way I'm sitting in front of that person and telling them that I've messed up time and time again. Like, I'm not having that awkward conversation. I'm going to be able to go to him and say, look, pull me back in. Rein me in. Keep me away from it. The fourth thing that happens, guys, is you're balanced. Your life is balanced. What that means is that everything kind of balances out. You have those people in your life that just kind of hold you where you need to be at. They kind of remind you, hey, be good this week. Hey, how's it going? It's something as simple as a text. Hey, man, just want to check on you. How's your day been? How's your week been? Have you struggled any? Have you given in to temptation? And your life kind of balances out, because you text them and they say, yeah, I've been good. How's you? How's that? And your life is balanced back and forth, because each of you are going back and forth, kind of sharing, hey, this is where I'm at. And then the last thing that happens, guys, is that when you do that, it brings peace to your life. It brings that peace in there. Accountability is so important. It's funny. You could even use something like the Bible app as accountability. One of the funny things that I do is every morning when I get up and do my devotion, and you'll probably laugh at me for this, but I'll get up and I'll do my devotion. If you use the Bible app to do it, it tells you when somebody's completed their devotion. And so I've always kind of used that for myself, to have that balance and that peace, that I don't want to be that person in the morning like, hey, Pastor Adam didn't get up this morning and do his devotion. Maybe you get on, maybe you may or may not. Maybe you get on and you look and you go, hey, I didn't see Adam hadn't completed any devotions in the past couple days. He apparently doesn't want to spend time with God. He tells me to, but I don't see it. And I know that sounds funny, and I know that it sounds kind of stupid, but that's what goes through my head. In the mornings, I say, I need to get up, because I need to keep myself accountable. Somebody might be watching. Somebody might say that. It may sound silly and ridiculous, but that's something that I use for me to help keep me accountable to that. But guys, it's just there, that peace and all those things. Just when somebody holds us accountable, we feel like that weight is lifted off our shoulders. Here's what it says in 1 John chapter 2. It says, and now, children, stay with Christ. Love deeply in Christ, and then we'll be ready for him when it appears, ready to receive him with arms open, with no cause for red-faced guilt or lame excuses when he rises. Guys, what's that saying is that when that day comes that we stand in front of Christ, when we have somebody that keeps us accountable, we're not going to feel guilty for the things that we've done, because we've had somebody to keep us from it. We've had somebody that steers us away just from our daily struggles, our temptations that we go through. I want to leave you guys with this last story tonight, or more, it's kind of just an illustration. It talks about the redwood trees that you see out in California, these huge, massive trees. I mean, they're so big, like cars can drive through them. The park one of the things I've always wanted to do is go to the park just so I can see how big these trees are. And you know what's crazy is, as big as these things are, as round as these trees are, some of the biggest trees in the world, you would think they probably have the deepest roots. Like they would have to go for miles underground. As big as that tree is, there's got to be some massive base that keeps that tree from being blown over by the wind. There's got to be something that holds it down. But you know, redwood trees actually have the smallest and shortest roots of any tree that's out there. Because what happens is all these trees that are in the forest, they don't grow downward. The roots grow together. And the roots grow together where they hold each other accountable, that if a redwood tree doesn't grow next to another one, it's not going to be strong enough. And so as you take that illustration and look at your own life, where is your life? Where is it planted at? Who is planted around you? What is holding you together right now? Who is standing around you with their roots intertwined with yours that says, look, the wind's coming, I'm getting beat down, but I'm going to stand right next to you. I'm going to hold you up, and I'm going to keep you from getting blown over. Guys, who's your ride or die? Right now, think about that. Who is the person, if you can think right now to your mind, who is the person that you go to? Not just with struggles, not just with that you vent to. Who do you honestly go to in your life that you're honest with? With the things that you struggle, the things that you want to keep behind closed doors. Guys, if you can't answer that, there's got to be somebody in your life. You've got to find somebody that you can have invest in you and you invest in them that says, hey, I can't do this by myself, because if you choose to do that, if you choose to stay alone, you're going to get blown over. Because we're meant to have that in our life. I'm going to ask you guys tonight, I want you to go ahead and just bow your heads for me. And I want you guys to think about that just real quick, just for a moment. If you know who it is, write it down. If you have somebody that's your accountability, look, you can take a moment right now. If it's somebody that you need to send a text message to when this experience is over tonight, guys, send that to that person. If you have somebody that you're like, look, I need to have you in my life. I need to have you in my life. I need you to keep me accountable, because until I do, I'm just going to keep struggling, and I'm going to keep hurting, and I'm going to keep falling. Think about somebody. Who is that? Who is that accountability partner in your life? Who's that person that's going to hold you down? Who's that person that's good or bad, that's going to be there with you, ride or die, to the end? And as you guys think about that tonight, maybe you were that student that walked in tonight and you're looking for that reason to either to ride with Christ or not. Maybe you don't understand this whole accountability thing. Maybe you don't understand this whole thing about God and what it means to have a relationship, but maybe you walked in here today and maybe you're searching for that. Maybe you need that accountability, guys. That's what Christ is here for. Christ wants to have you accountable. There's others in this room that want you to have that relationship with Christ, that want you to follow after him. Guys, as you're here and you walk in here and you think about that and you think about where your life is and what you're doing, have you actually ever committed to being accountable to God? Have you ever actually committed to have a relationship with Christ? And I want to invite you tonight, if that's something that you haven't done or you've never had that, that's your opportunity tonight, is to say, I'm ready to leave that behind. Because I can tell you right now, guys, if that's you, I promise you, there's a room full of students in here that would love to keep you accountable. There's a room full of students in here that would say, hey, I'll be your ride or die. I'll be with you to the end. I'll be with you through and through. I'll help you when it gets tough having this walk with Christ. Guys, that first step to having that is just having that relationship with Christ. And guys, it's not any type of secret code or a class you got to take, or guys, all it is having a relationship with Christ. All it takes is just having a moment where you talk to him and say, God, I'm ready to open my heart. God, I'm ready for you to keep me accountable for the decisions I make. God, I need you in my life. Guys, if that's a commitment that you're ready to take, if you're ready to change that, let your old life die and start new. With all heads bowed and all eyes closed, I just ask you guys, just put your hand up. Say, that's me, Adam. I'm ready for that step. I'm ready to seek that relationship with Christ. Guys, I see that hand. That's awesome. I see that hand and that one. Guys, that's a huge step. And if that's you, guys, you just take a moment and say, God, come into my life. Make me new. Change me. God, I just want to thank you for these students that are in here tonight, God, God, I just ask that you lay some accountability on their hearts tonight, God, that maybe that tonight when they leave here, that they don't just leave here just hearing a bunch of words, that God, they leave here tonight and they earnestly are looking for someone, whether it's somebody or a group, whatever it is, God, that they leave here tonight and they seek tonight with somebody that they know that they go to with what they struggle with and what they deal with and what they need to be kept accountable for, God, that they look for that tonight when they walk out of this room. And God, I ask that you take that fear away that comes from being accountable. God, it's one of the hardest things in the world to kind of open up to somebody and be 100% honest with the things that we deal with in our life. And God, I ask that you just remove that from their hearts. Remove that animosity, that judgment, that fear of just not measuring up, God. I ask that you remove that from their hearts so that way they seek after that relationship with you and seek after that relationship with others. God, we thank you for all that you do in our lives. We thank you for the people you put in our lives, God, that help us follow after you, God. In your name we pray. Amen.